these are not the conditions you want to be out in this kayak in. Should be noted that this is August, just beginning of August. The water is still fairly warm. I'm obviously wearing a PFD and so on. But again, this is not conditions that you should normally be out in this kind of kayak. Okay, I haven't seen this shipwreck before. So better to be on the other side. Har du lekt sänka skepp nu igen? Har du lekt sänka skepp? And here we have Kiki. You might recognize her actually from other trips, like a sea kayaking trip, for example, we did together the other year. But she's here with her Oru kayak. Which model is this?
This is the Bay ST.
Yes. So, well, admittedly, a higher performance than my kayak. But still, we're heading out on the water on a summer day here in Sweden, which is going to be really nice. So let me just say that what I'm going to show in this video, paddling in the chop on a windy day, so maybe the paddling conditions are not perfect for today. This is not something I recommend at all. Most paddlers should not be out in choppy waters like this with this kind of kayak, unless you know what you're doing, because I mean it gets heavy and you can end up in a situation where you can no longer really control your kayak as you would like to. This kayak isn't made for these conditions. I'll talk about that a little bit later. Alright, so after a paddle you might have water in the kayak, and then there is actually a hole at the back of the kayak there, which can be very practical in this case.
Here we go.
So let's see. There's plenty of water in the kayak actually. So So we noticed a few paddlers, quite young ones, heading out with rental kayaks, and we were able to advise them to take it easy and stick close to shore, since the wind has been fairly rough today at times. So it's easy to get surprised if you're out there and it's relatively calm, and then the wind picks up and you're not ready for that, and especially if you're quite young. So I got some use out of my German language skills. So before I get to the other side, front of me, way in the distance there, and catch some wind shelter. The wind is right now just against me, right against me, which means it's a lot tougher to paddle. I need to be heading there if I'm gonna get anywhere, but it's hard work in this kayak. I am catching a lot of wind right against me, and this kayak is wide enough to have a lot of wind capture. So this is actually a good lesson for, I mean, this is a good example of how you could find yourself in a tricky situation if you need to get back to shore and the wind is against you, pushing you out to sea, maybe in combination with tide. Even if you're an experienced paddler, and especially if you're a beginner, it can be quite heavy. And if you are already tired, if you've been paddling for a while, this could become quite exhausting after a while. So you want to keep that in mind when planning your paddling routes. Chocolate, wafer chocolate, very important during the paddle. And out there, there are some tiny scaries, but they appear to be quite long. So there are like 60 or 70 birds at least sitting in long lines. Black, relatively large birds. So that's quite interesting. This is... Wow, I just had an eagle majestically gliding past me slowly. Didn't really catch it on camera, I think, enough. But I mean, I don't think I've seen one that close actually ever. So this is a nature reserve. Alright, so I'm lucky. You're not allowed to be here because it's a bird protection area between 1st of April and 31st of July, and I'm here just in the first days of August, so just after this opened up. And man, is this an incredible place actually. You can see all the birds' nests which look abandoned now. Maybe the birds have moved on, but this is absolutely incredible, and I had no idea that these islands had this kind of nature. I mean, I haven't really seen something quite like this. Definitely not around here. Near central Stockholm, or I mean not too far away from central Stockholm. So that is definitely a bonus for my trip, and something which once more goes to show that paddling never ceases to surprise you. This is so incredibly cool. And now, as I'm close to the other side here, you can actually feel the wind increasing, as I was talking about. So it's a good thing I crossed over at this pace. So that's what you always need to be prepared for, that conditions can always change on the water. So I haven't looked at the map in quite a while. I mean, by map I mean on my phone, because this is still locally in the inner archipelago, close to residential areas on the coast. So I don't have a physical map with me for this area because it's limited in scope. But assuming I am right in terms of where I am, which I should be very much, this is Storholmen Island, and that smaller island over there would be Bastuholmen, which is Sana Islet, if you will, very Nordic. And the funny thing is, actually, just a few days ago I was actually having a meal here on this island, which I visited for the first time. But yeah, my sense of geographic location appears to be correct. In front of me there is it will be the restaurant. To my right is the island of Storholmen, and that on the left would be Bogesundslandet, and in front of me there is Lidingö Island in Stockholm. And yeah, this is fun because, again, which was not planned to coincide with this paddle really, but did. I was here quite a few days ago on a really warm day, but arriving by local ferry instead, which was a nice experience. So yeah, here's the restaurant, Storholmens Sjökrog, where my mother, my brother and myself had lunch just a few days ago. It took forever and a day to actually get our food, but once we did, we had a good time and we weren't really in a hurry. However, there's a local ferry here that only left basically less than an hour and a half after our arrival with the ferry here. So we missed the ferry back because the food took a long time to arrive, and then we walked across the island to another ferry dock on the south side, and then took the ferry from there, and we were lucky to get there just with a minute to spare, and actually that was because the ferry was late, so that was to our advantage. But even so, here is the restaurant. Nice to see it again. Interesting to see it from the kayak perspective. When we were having lunch, there were actually 2 kayakers right here. So yeah, Storholmen Island is a bit of a gem if you happen to be in the area. Alright, so that was fun, Storholmen Island. Now basically I'm just gonna that is Storholmen Island, that is Lidingö in front, and I just want to be heading eastwards from here to the east side of Lidingö, and then turn around and then get to my destination. So I'm basically gonna follow land on the other side there. But before that I have to just cross here. It's against the wind, so it will take me a little while, and there's boat traffic there. It's a lane, so to speak, fairway for boats, so I'm gonna have to focus in my crossing. But after that, with the exception of the exact final stretch, I mean, I'm gonna have an easy trip now along the side of that island for quite a while. So that's nice. So final fight against the wind on this side, and then I'm gonna be sheltered from the wind again. So all right, let's go. I'm gonna have to pay attention here because of all the boat traffic. They're moving quite quickly in both directions, from left to right, right to left. And this is a slow craft, so I'm just gonna have to move straight and cross at reasonable speed against the wind, unfortunately. But then once I'm close to land, I'll be safe from boat traffic. All right, so I completed the crossing without issues. Over there in the distance is Storholmen. I could go ashore here if I wanted to, which is good to know for the future. I don't really feel I need to, but I'll take the moment to rest a little bit and have some water, which is important on a warm day like this, and a quick snack, I think, and then I'll continue in that direction.